practice that is all about gaining a little bit more internal rotation, which will help with hip flexion and shoulder flexion. So we'll begin lying down on our backs, and you're going to bring the soles of your feet together with the knees flopping out to the side. And you can rest the arms alongside the body, or you can bring the hands onto the belly and onto the chest. So whatever feels most comfortable for you. So just getting a little bit of a stretch through the inner thighs to begin with, and also starting to tune into your breath rhythm. And see if you can slow down the exhalation. And just let go of any unnecessary tension residing in the body right now. In a moment, we will start to activate through the inner and outer hips a little more. And for this, I'd like you to keep the soles of your feet pressed together the entire time. So pressing into the feet as you breathe in, raise your hips to the sky. As you breathe out, try and draw your knees towards each other, but keep the soles of the feet pressed. Breath in, open the knees, and then the exhale, release your hips down to the floor. Breath in, raise the hips up. Exhale to squeeze the knees in. Inhale to open. And exhale, releasing down. And just keep repeating this, moving at your own breath rhythm. So if that's a little faster or slower than me, that's okay. But really trying to feel this activation through the inner thighs as you squeeze the legs in. And you might even notice a bit of an activation through the outer hips as you lift your hips up. Good, one more. And release the hips down to the floor. Let's take a moment. Knees out wide. Notice how this shape might have changed from when you first laid down. And then draw the knees in. Place the feet on the floor. Extend the left leg out long and try and press the left heel into the ground. Keep the left hip in contact with the ground. Draw your right knee into the chest as much as you can. Then open the knee out to the side. Push through the heel as you extend the leg forward. Try not to arch your lower back away from the floor. And then turn the toes to point up. Draw the knee in. Open the knee out to the side. Keep your left hip in contact with the floor. Push through the heel as you straighten the leg. Keep your back as it is. So try not to arch the spine. And then turn the toes to point up. We've got a few more rounds of this. So it's a nice controlled hip circle. It's starting to awaken all of those muscles that innervate the hip. And also the core as we try to keep the back in that neutral position and the left hip grounded into the floor. Good, and then draw the knee in. Take the knee across the body. Try not to let the knee touch the floor, so only going as far as your right shoulder blade stays on the floor. And then kick out with your right heel away from you, and then draw the knee back in. So a little bit of knee extension. Kick out through the heel, keep the right shoulder blade down, and then draw the heel back in. Again, push out through the heel. Extend the leg away from you. Bend the knee, bring the leg back in. One more time, kick out. Hold here, straight leg. You're going to open back up towards the sky, using that outer hip to do the work. And then slow motion back down, keeping the leg straight. So it's like a windshield wiper action, but you're really focusing on this outer hip doing the work. Good. Draw the leg all the way back up. Squeeze those muscles around the hip to draw the leg up. And then slowly back down. Squeeze to bring the leg up. And slowly back down. Let's do one more. Squeeze and you'll bring the leg up. And then release that leg down onto the ground. Take a moment just to notice how that side has changed in comparison to the side that we have not done. And then press your right heel into the floor, draw your left knee into your chest. Open the knee out to the side, keep your right hip firmly grounded, push through the heel as you extend the heel forward. Turn the toes to point up. Draw the knee in, keep your back in neutral. Open the knee out to the side. Keep your right hip grounded as you kick the heel away. Turn the toes to point up. Good, a few more circles, just really feeling this action for yourself without compensating and rolling the hip away from the floor or arching the back away from the floor. So it should be quite a bit of work for the core in order to stabilize. Good, one more circle. Nice, and then draw that knee in. I'm just going to wriggle to the side a little. Take the knee across the body, so like a spinal twist, but keep your left shoulder down. And then kick out through the heel, and then bend the knee back in. Kick out, push through the heel, keep the left shoulder on the floor, and bend the knee back in. Couple more times, really feeling that extension and seeing if you can work the foot a little closer to your right hand each time. Try to keep your right toes pointing up to the sky if you can. Good, now keep the leg long, use the outer hip to draw the leg back up to the sky. And then take it back across. Right toes, again, point to the sky. Squeeze that outer hip to bring the leg back up. And then take the leg across, squeeze the inner thighs. Outer leg brings the leg back up. Slowly take it back down. Last one. Outer leg pulls the leg up. And then release the leg down and just give your legs a little shake out. It's working into the arms now, so bend your knees and place the feet on the floor just so that it takes out the spine wanting to get involved. Bring your arms to a cactus position with the fingertips pointing towards the sky. Now without the shoulders moving away from the floor too much, we'll do a windshield wiper action. So you're going to take your hands all the way back towards the floor and try and push down through the backs of the hands. And then come up towards the ceiling and take the hands towards the floor the opposite way. Now just check that the shoulders don't lift up. You're trying to keep the shoulders down, so just working within the range that you have available. And then all the way back, push the backs of the hands into the floor. Try not to flare your ribs. And then all the way up to the ceiling and then forward without the shoulders coming away from the ground. All the way back, press the hands into the floor. All the way forward, keep the shoulders down. All the way back, press hands to the floor. And then all the way forward. Good, and then come out of that. We're going to see if we can find a little bit more range of motion. So remember how that felt. Roll onto your left-hand side and draw your knees in towards your chest. And just take your arm out so it's just below your shoulder. And then your elbow is bent. And it's that same windshield wiper position that we were just playing with. You're going to place your right hand on top of the left hand. And then you're going to work to push your left hand up, but your right hand is going to resist the motion the whole time. So coming all the way up, and then once you get to the top, release the pressure, come back, reset, push the hand down onto your left hand, push up with your left hand, and then start to bring the arm all the way up. And then release, come back down, reset, press with your hand, resist, and come up. And all the while you're trying to keep the shoulder on the floor. So notice if it's starting to lift up. You don't have to put so much effort in that it's starting to cause any sort of kind of tension or crunching around the neck area. It's just enough that we're waking up the muscle, starting to warm up those external rotators before we stretch. Let's do one more. And then you're going to hold at the top, find that equal and opposite force, so the isometric work. And now the right hand, so the top hand is going to win, the left hand is going to resist as you bring the hands all the way down. Release, come back up, reset, Press them against one another, and then slowly, slowly, slowly press the hand down, but keep on resisting with that left arm. And release, come back up. Press them against each other. Resist, resist, resist. Good, and back up. Couple more. So you might be starting to get a little further each time. And this last one, we're going to hold and then press your left hand into your right. So really trying to find as much of that effort as you can, holding that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now try and pull your left hand away from your right. So it might not move very much, might just be a little. Hold that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Release. Come back onto your back, just back into your cactus position with the fingertips pointing to the sky. And then just try that internal and external rotation again through the arms. And just notice if it feels the same from side to side or if it's a little different on the side that you've just done. I don't know if you can see, but I've got a little bit more range of motion on the side that's been done. It also feels a little smoother. Let's roll onto the other side. So this time the right arm is coming into that cactus position. You're trying to keep the shoulder blade onto the floor, the shoulder on the floor. Create the cactus motion and then connect your left hand on top of the right. And now push with the right hand, but keep resisting with your left. And once you get all the way up, you can release the tension, come back down and reset. Press them against each other and slowly, slowly, slowly bring that hand all the way up. And again, press them against each other as slow as you can, with as much effort as you can, but not so much that you're bringing any tension into that upper neck. So just finding that right amount of effort where you feel the muscles switch on, but it's not kind of recruiting into other areas. Good, and then hold at the top, so isometric force. And now left hand is going to do the pushing to bring the right hand all the way down. And you're resisting with that right hand the whole time. And try that again. Press with the left hand. Resist with your right. Move the arm into internal rotation. And again. Good, let's do one more. This time you're going to hold at the bottom, create that equal and opposite force. So isometric work again, keep the shoulder down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now pull away from your hand as much as you can. It might not be very much, and that's okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, release. Come back onto your back and just take that little check in, see if it's feeling any different with your internal and external rotation. Nice. And then roll over onto your tummy. And you'll need a block or something similar. It could even be a ball or a box or a tin, just anything that you can lift your hand up and over. And we'll do some external rotation work this time. So rest your hand on the block, if it's a block, or on your object, so that you've got a little bit of passive range of motion into that external rotation. And look at the hand. And you're going to keep an eye on the hand so that when you lift up, the wrist stays straight. So we'll start by isometrically pushing down through the feet, pushing down through the pelvis, engaging through the belly, and then push your arm into the block and keep the shoulder in the socket. So doing all of those actions and just finding your maximum safest effort of pressing as firmly as you can down into the block for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and now try and lift away from your block. Hold that. 5, 4, check the wrist. 3, 2, 1. Now if you manage to get a decent amount of height, you can flip your object onto the next level. Remember, wrist stays straight. Let's take a moment just to get used to this new height.
plug the shoulder into the socket. And then press down through your feet, press down through your pelvis, and press down through your hand, finding that isometric force again. Remember, shoulder stays in the socket. Holding that isometric force down into the block for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then try and lift away from the block. Hold that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Release down. Now you can keep the block on that height or flip it down again. We're going to lift up and over the block with the hand. So try to keep the elbow on the floor. Lift up and over your object and then place the hand down. Trying not to let the shoulder come up around the ear. Press down through the feet, press down through the pelvis, lift up the hand and bring it on the inside of your object. Now if that felt easy, turn the object a little higher. Lift up, hover, and come down. Lift up, hover, come down. A few more like this. Good, one more, over and back. Nice work. Give your shoulder a little wriggle out. Flip onto the other side. I'm just going to turn around so that I stay facing the camera. So starting by looking at your object and placing your hand on top of the object on the lowest height. And then start to press your feet into the floor, pelvis down, hug the shoulder to the socket, firm up your belly, and press down into your block or your object, whatever that might be. So it might be something that's a little closer to the floor if this block even feels a little too high. Hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now try and lift away from your object. Good, and then hold that. Really work those muscles on the shoulder blade. Put your mindfulness on that place. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice, release down. Turn your object onto the next height. Or if it felt really tricky, you can just stay with the height that you have. Hug your shoulder into the socket. Press your feet into the floor. Press your pelvis down. Now press down into your object. Find as much force down into the object as you can. Hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now lift away from the object. Check that you haven't broken at the wrist. Hold the arm up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Release. Turn your object down onto the lower height again. Bring your hand to the inside. Hug the shoulder into the socket and then lift up, hover over your object and onto the outside. And if it feels easy with it on that height, feel free to turn your object onto the next height. So just finding the height that works for you where you're not breaking at the wrist. So really concentrating on keeping the wrist straight. And working those muscles on the shoulder blade again. Good, couple more. Nice, and then give the shoulder a little wriggle out. So we're going to work with the block or whatever object you've got. We're going to pass it off behind our back and then reach it up and grab it in front. You're going to keep your forehead down the entire time. So the block is going to go onto your back to start with. You're going to bring your arms out to the side like a capital T. And then lift your arms up as high as they will go. Press down through your feet, press down through your pelvis. Reach around for the block. Pick up the block with your left, or actually pick it up with both hands to start with, and then pass it off to the right. Sweep the arms all the way out to the side. Keep the arms as high as you can. Pass it off to the left above your head, and then sweep back around. Keep your arms up as high as you can. Pass it off to the right. Lift the arms a little higher. Sweep all the way around. Pass it to the left. Keep the arms up nice and high as you sweep back and around. And then place it down on your back and have a little rest. Just going to move away from the curtains for this next one. So this time we're going to pass it the opposite way. Try and really keep your arms up as high as you can. So you're really working those muscles in the middle upper back. So reach around, pick up the block and lift it up as high as you can. Press down through the pelvis, press down through the feet. Pass it to the left hand, sweep around, keep the arms up nice and high. Pass it to your right. Sweep all the way around, holding it with the right hand. Pass it to the left hand. Lift the arms a little higher. Sweep around. Keep the arms up nice and high. Pass it to the right. Sweep it around. Last one. Pass to the left. Lift up a little higher. Hold on with both hands. Try and rip the block apart. And release down. Nice work. Give your hips a little shake. And then press yourself up. You can come into a 90-90 position. So right shin bone comes more or less parallel to the top of your mat. You're going to work your left leg back so that you've got kind of 90 degrees at the hip or thereabouts, and also at the knee. If you need to go a little tighter in, that's okay as well. We're going to be focusing on the back leg for this. So spin towards your back leg and then hands to the floor behind you. And try and get really heavy down through this hip. So it's dropping towards the ground. And hopefully you're feeling it somewhere around this whole area. If you're feeling it in the groin, just play with where the knee is. So you could bring it in a little closer. Or even play with the rotation of your body. The first part, just coming into breath awareness. So allowing some of that effort from the arms just to dissipate so that we can come back to parasympathetic nervous system and a sense of ease before we add that effort in again. Now through this back leg, try and press from the knee all the way down to the heel into the ground as much as you can. So you're really trying to drive that leg into the floor, feeling the muscles engage, and try and hold that. Keep your hip down, holding that maximum effort. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now try and lift the foot away from the floor or the whole shin bone up to the knee. Your hip stays on the ground though. So you probably won't lift. You can see only my foot really starts to lift up. Nothing else lifts. But you might feel some activation in and around the hip. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Relax back into the stretch again. Maybe you can drop in a little deeper. Again, tune into your breath. Slow it down. And now try and press that whole leg into the floor as much as you can, keeping your left hip down. Keep ramping up the effort until you can find your maximum safest effort. Hold that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now try and lift the foot away from the floor, keeping your knee down and keeping the hip down. Good. Hold that. 5, 4, you might get a little cramp. I'm starting to get one myself. 2, 1. Good. Relax. Give it a little shake off. Set yourself up. Now find that place where you can lift the back leg up, but you're not kind of rocking forward too much. So you want to be able to lift it up a little, and then I want you to push your hand against the leg. Push that leg into the hand into the leg, and hold that. So a little PNF activation again. Holding. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go and let's let the leg float up. Good. And then hold that activation and try and set your chest up a little taller. You might start to get a little cramp. Holding that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Lower it down. Give the hip a little wriggle. And then grab your object and you're going to lift up and over the object. And this could be your phone as well. So you're going to try and lift your foot up, clear the object, and then back inside the object. So just work out the angle that you need to put your object so that you can clear it without too much effort. Try not to lean forward too much for this one. So you're trying to find that place where it is really quite challenging. I'm using my right hand as a little kickstand as well. So you're going to lift up, clear the object, place your heel down. Lift up, clear it, come down. Lift up and over. Good. Lift up and over. Couple more. Last one. Nice. And then just take the block out of the way, put your hands behind you, and just rock onto a kind of open, what we call a bear sit position. So try not to adjust your feet too much. And then make fists and take the fists out to the side. Now without leaning back, try and draw one leg in and then the other. So you're imagining that there's a stick running down your spine, so you're not rocking back into that stick. You're simply trying to engage these muscles right in front of the hip, your hip flexors. Good, couple more. And one, nice. And then straighten out the legs, give them a good wriggle out, maybe a little bit of a massage, particularly if they felt a little crampy. Good, and then let's do the other side. So left leg comes forward, right leg goes back. Find that 90-90 shape, so shin parallel to the front of the mat. And then rock back and place your hands behind you to lean back. And then just let yourself kind of melt into the stretch. Now you know what's coming. Enjoy this part. Enjoy just kind of hanging out. A little bit like you're on the beach. And making sure that you're not feeling too much in the groin. If you are, just know you can move that knee. All right, so let's create some activation. Try and push the right leg into the floor, that whole shin bone all the way down to the ankle, the foot, pushing as much as you can, holding that effort for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now try and lift the foot away from the floor. Keep your hip down. Hold that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the foot down. Just kind of hang out in the stretch again. Give your hips a little wriggle. So really trying to keep this hip down. It will want to lift up in order to activate. Good. Now let's press down as much as you can into the floor. Finding that maximum safest effort, pushing down, holding that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now try and lift the foot away from the floor. Keep your hip down. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Release that. Sit up and then find that place where you can lift the foot, but it's kind of challenging, so you're not rocking forward too much. Lift the foot up and then press your hand into the leg, your leg into the hand. Find that maximum safest effort. Holding that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go and let the leg come up. Really work for that extra bit of range of motion. Try and sit your chest up a little higher. Holding. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Release down. If it's a little crampy, give it a little stretch out. And then grab your object and just work out the angle that you need it so that you can clear the object. And remember, you could use your phone if the block is a little too big to get up and over. Now, as you're getting up and over, don't do what I just did, which was a big hip shift. So you're trying to stay nice and neutral through the rest of the body as you clear your object. So this is where you might need to actually take a smaller object on the second side. Good, so all of that work is coming from the hip socket. It's not coming from the spine. Go a couple more. Good, and then move the block out of the way. Again, come back to that bear sit position, so wide feet, knees in nice and tight, arms out, make fists. And then try and draw the knees towards your chest without leaning back. So you want to think of bringing your chest and your thigh towards one another rather than just the leg coming in. You're doing both actions at once, which is going to keep your chest nice and tall. Keep your spine upright. And one more each side. Awesome. And then extend your legs out long. Just give them a little wriggle, maybe a little massage if that feels good. Okay, let's do back to the arms again. So with your block or your object, and again, you could do something that's a little skinnier. We're going to start with the object this way around. So it could be a can, or it could be a phone, or just something not too heavy. So don't choose a brick. Something that when you drop it, it's not going to damage your floor as well, because you are going to let go of this object. So just watch for a second. So your hips will stay over your knees. Elbows are on the floor. You're holding onto your object, and then your forehead comes down. Now don't bring the object behind your head, because when you drop, it's going to land on your head. So you're going to bring the hands just in front. You can look forward just to make sure you've got it in the right place. The first phase is going to push into the elbows, extend your sitting bones back. You'll press into the block, and then when I tell you to, you're going to try and open your hands away from the block. Okay, so the block will then drop on the floor. So grab your object, whether it's a tin or a block or a shoebox, and bring yourself into this puppy pose. So knees over or underneath your hips, diagonal line with the torso, forehead resting on the floor, elbows out in front, and just look forward. Make sure that the block is going to land not on your head. Now the object that you're using, squeeze onto it. So finding that action of adduction, squeezing in. At the same time, press down through the elbows, send your sitting bones back, net your ribs in. Good, now try and pull your hands away from the block so that the block drops. Keep trying to pull your hands out as wide as you can. 3, 2, 1, good, relax. So you could do it again with that same width, or if you've got an object like a block, you could go to a slightly wider width. Forehead on the floor, finding that shape again, elbows press down, draw the hips back, ribs pull in. Then press your hands into your item, pushing into the item, activating those muscles in the front of the chest, front of the shoulder. Good, now do the opposite, try and pull away from your block so that the block drops. Keep pulling away from the block, hold that, and let the ribs in. 3, 2, 1, good, relax. Walk your knees forward, just come up, give the shoulders a little roll out. Nice work. Let's do one more little hip thing. So bring your left leg forward, right knee on the floor, right hand on the floor. You're going to bring your hand to the outside of the knee, and your knee is going to press out into your hand as your hand resists. So this time getting into the outer hip a little more, and then you'll let go and the foot will roll in. Again, press, let the knee roll open, release, foot rolls in. Press and open, release, let it come in. One more like that, press, roll open, release, it comes in. Then wiggle that foot all the way over to the opposite side of the mat
and bring the knee down to the floor. So we're going to come into pigeon pose. Now you might want a cushion or something underneath the hip so that you can sit in this position without rocking too far to one side. And that cushion can go anywhere underneath the thigh or the hip so that you can sit relatively upright. Now in this position, back leg is long, extend out through the toes. Start to push your front leg into the floor again. So finding that activation, that isometric work in the lateral hip. At the same time, you might feel a little bit of a stretch in the back hip. And if you like, you can also press the back toes into the floor so it really activates that back leg. And now see if you can do the opposite. Try and lift the front leg towards your face, lift the back leg away from the floor. So notice that activation in your butt of the back leg, the inner thigh of the front leg. Good, and then relax that. Try the opposite again. Push down into the floor with the back foot, the front leg. You may even want to take the object that you're sitting on out of the way if your body is inviting you in a little more. Now do the opposite. Try and lift the leg towards your chest. Lift the back leg, the whole back leg away from the floor. So it's not just the foot. Nice. And then release. Plant your hands. Just press back to down dog. And just notice how that leg feels. Notice all of that activation. And bring the right leg forward, left knee to the floor. Place the hand to the outside of the knee and then press into the hand as the knee opens and you roll to the pinky side of the foot. And release the pressure as you roll back. Push into the knee and open out to the side. So just starting to awaken these muscles through the outer hip again. Push into the knee, roll to the pinky side of the foot. Come back and again push into the knee, roll to the pinky side. Come back to the center, rock the foot all the way over to the opposite side of the mat and come into your pigeon setup. And remember, you can put that block underneath or the pillow, whatever you're using, underneath the thigh or the hip, just so that it gives you better access to those muscles in the outer hip. So you're not just kind of rocking to one side. Once you're in position, you're going to press down into this front leg, press down into the back leg. So you start to feel activation in the front of the hip, activation through the lateral hip on the front leg. Good, holding that activation. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do the opposite. Try and lift the leg towards your chest. Try and lift the back leg away from the floor. Feel how the butt, the hamstring starts to awaken. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Move the block out of the way if you need to. Coming back into your pigeon. And again, push down into the front leg, push down into the back foot. Awaken all those muscles, holding that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do the opposite. Try and lift the leg towards your chest. Try and lift the back leg away from the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Plant the hands, tuck the toes, press back, down dog, pedal out the feet. A good stretch. And bending into one knee, holding that for a little longer, then bending into the other, holding that. And then bring your knees to the floor, lie down on your tummy and rest your forehead in your hands. Give your hips a little rock and roll from side to side. And just let your body relax and integrate all of that.
Just let the rhythm of your breath get a little slower. And let your whole body relax. And stay for as long as you would like. And thank you for practicing with me. Have a beautiful day.